Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome the Rabbi of Georgina County. Let's give a big, big round of applause and welcome Rabbi Yossi Barabi.
Thank you very much to the organizers for today's event. Let's hear it. Please join me in a short prayer from Psalms chapter 121. I will read it in Hebrew and followed by a translation in English. Shir lama'alois asainai el haharim me'ayin yavoy Ezri. Ezri me'im adinoi oise shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein lamoid raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine la yanum v'la yishan shomer Yisrael. Adinoi shomrecha, adinoi tzilcha al yad yiminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakega v'yareach balayla. Adinoi yishmercha mikora, yishmer es nafshecha. Adinoi yishmer tzeischo v'yecha me'ata v'yad olam. A song for ascent. I shall rise my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help is from God, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to falter. Your guardian will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. God is your guardian. God is your shadow. He is by your right hand. By day the sun will not smite you, nor will the moon at night. God will guard you from all evil. He will guard your soul. God will guard your going out and your coming in from now and to eternity. In the spring of 1967, as many Arab capitals paraded their arms and openly spoke of overrunning the land of Israel and casting its inhabitants into the sea, a great panic enveloped the Jewish people. The media was almost anonymous in its feeling that Israel was outflanked and outgunned by its enemies and stood little chance of survival. It was the Lubavitcher Rebbe who stood out as a voice of confidence and encouragement. The guardian of Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers, he said, quoting the very same eternal words of Psalms we read today. God watches over his people wherever they are, especially in the Holy Land. And we all know of the swift and bold miraculous victory that took place during the Six-Day War. Lately, the news has been filled with violence and devastation. Our concern has been brought in from our brothers and sisters in the Holy Land to our brothers and sisters all over the globe. The ugly shadow of anti-Semitism, deviously garbed in the more politically correct version, as anti-Zionism is quickly spreading its darkness from France to England and from one end of Canada to the other. Jews around the world feel under siege and afraid to be identified as Jews. It's alarming. It's heartbreaking. But this time we will not be silent. This time we will not succumb to the hate. We will face the darkness with light, the threat with pride, and the evil with holiness. We will increase in mitzvot. We will not take off our kippot. We will not remove our mezuzahs or hide in our homes. We will put on tefillin. We will light Shabbat candles. And we will give our children a Jewish education. It is specifically through doing these things, being openly and proudly Jewish, strengthening our connection with God, whom our Torah says has his eyes on the land of Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, that we will help keep our brothers and sisters there and around the world safe and secure. I encourage you all today to take a stand on the side of light, increase in acts of goodness and kindness, and may we merit the coming of Mashiach. Now, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai.
You know, I'm looking over at that building there. That's the Toronto District School Board. And if you can believe it, there's a staff member there who heads the equity department. who is circulating a 60-page document that is nothing but a demonization of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. It is appalling. We are a city that has built a worldwide reputation of respect, of diversity, community, and tolerance. We are a city that welcomes people from all over the world. We will not let world conflict zones play out here and let hate take over our streets. We will not let our reputation be ruined worldwide. Our world lens ensures that ours is a city with no closed doors, with no glass seasons. And the welcome, my wish is to travel back to the state of Israel, the Jewish homeland, and send the message for those who will listen that Toronto will always be a friend, an ally, part of the family, and a safe place for the Jewish community. Our restraint in society leads to the civility and respect that we all cherish. And yet the healing of the hour, the words of comfort and solace come not from the rhetoric of politicians, but from our clergy. And in the end, they reminded us of our greatest responsibility. Go forward in healing, forgiveness, love, and never in vengeance. Affirming the truism that God's work in this world must truly be our own. Thank you so much for this invitation. Am Israel High.
A big personality from the TV and media. Please welcome Shai DeLuca! Shai, we're keeping everything safe, okay? We're finding protocol. We are not here to do it in a proper way.
All right, guys, thank you so... First of all, I have to say, I'm looking up into this crowd, and my heart is so full of love. This is so amazing. I know that our community really needed this, so I want to say thank you, first of all, of course, to Henry and the entire group for putting this together, because on a short amount of time, this is what we've been able to do. So amazing. All right, guys, let's get down to it. In spite of everything, I still believe people are really good at heart. This is a quote that every Jew learns to recognize from a very young age. It is, of course, the words of one of my youngest Jewish heroes, Anne Frank, a victim of Jewish genocide. Now, one might think that such a universally recognized victim of the Holocaust would remain untouchable by those who in modern day look to demonize the Jewish people. But that's not the case. Isn't that what we conditioned to believe? That anti-Semitism today is not the anti-Semitism of past. We're told it's not anti-Semitism at all, in fact. Non-Jews alike never miss an opportunity to educate the Jewish people on what the overwhelming majority of us defines as systemic racism against our own. It's all in our minds, they say. They tell us we're not anti-Semitic, we're simply anti-Zionist. Thank you. Zionism is the right of the Jewish people to self-determination in our indigenous homeland. So to them I always ask, well, do you support Native American rights? What about First Nations in Canada? Aboriginal rights in Australia? And they look at me bewildered and say, of course, I'm not racist. Well, then I look at them and I say, well, what about Indigenous Jews? Why can you not support our rights for self-determination? I started with this quote from Anne Frank, and I did so purposely, because in the latest wave of anti-Semitism plaguing the globe, saw a hashtag. Anne Frank was a colonist. Yeah, Anne Frank was a colonist. Now this was a hashtag that was trending. This wasn't just one or two people, it was trending on Twitter. An Indigenous Jew whose family generations back fled or were forced out of our Indigenous home found safety in what was then the diaspora is being called a colonizer, a white colonizer. Are today's Syrian refugees colonizers? Are Armenians who fled genocide by the Turks colonizers? Are any people who flee persecution and find safety in another country colonizers? Of course not. So why doesn't that apply to the Jewish people as well? When we were forced into the diaspora, we were told, go back to Palestine. So we did. And now that we've been home and we've reclaimed our indigenous land, we're told to go back to where we came from. Well, guess what, guys? We did go back to where we came from, and we are never leaving again. The reality of today's anti-Semitism is also almost Orwellian, isn't it? We've become pretty good at identifying what they coined traditional anti-Semitism. White men wielding tiki torches, screaming, Jews will not replace us. We get it. We've seen this before. People shooting up synagogues in Pittsburgh. Okay, easy to identify. But today, friends, today's anti-Semitism is much more sinister. It's much more difficult to pinpoint, not for us, not for the Jewish people. We can pinpoint it with accuracy that nobody else can. But for those who claim to be progressive, it seems a little bit more difficult to pinpoint, and in fact, it seems like they are perpetrating it. Yes, friends, to be progressive in 2021 means to be an abhorrent, Jew-hating, vicious anti-Semite. And those of you who know me know I don't mince my words, and I'm not about to start it today. It's sad, because I consider myself to be a progressive person. I'm a Jew, I'm Sephardi, I'm Israeli, and I'm LGBT. All of these things make me progressive, yet, thank you, I cannot be accepted in progressive circles. My first experience with modern anti-Semitism began in 2014, after the last Gaza war. It was my first time as a television personality that war in Israel had happened. And I, like most well-known Israelis, shared my thoughts on the tragedy of the 3 young boys who were kidnapped and murdered by Hamas. Much like Gal Gadot, though not at the same scale, I, too, faced criticism for posting what I posted. We know where your studio is. Look up on the roof for snipers, I got messages. We know what car you drive. Put the key in the ignition, turn twice, click, click, and boom. Those were actual messages that I received. Last summer, those of you who know me know that I, with the help of the Lawfare Project and Re-LL Law in Toronto, filed a lawsuit against food vendors, a local business that used my photo and claimed that I'm a terrorist and I sniper Palestinian children for no other reason than the fact that I am Israeli, I served in the IDF, and I did so proudly. Now, a lot of people say to me, well, you know, if this is something you're so concerned about, why do you keep talking about it? And I say, if I don't talk about it and debunk the lies that she is spreading, people will think otherwise. I don't know how many people have been talking about this. I don't know what dinner tables people have been discussing this at. I don't know how this is going to affect me or my business. So I have to fight it. We all need to fight anti-Semitism. Now the owner, she claims to be progressive. But see, this is the thing. This is what progressive feels like in 2021. Following these latest Hamas attacks, progressives around the world started chanting freedom for Hamas in support of Hamas terror. They themselves don't see that as problematic. All Jews and Israelis I know want Palestinian freedom. We want them to be free from the reign of terror of Hamas and oftentimes the PA as well, because we understand that free Palestinians will mean peace in the region. We know that. But no, many of these progressive rallies actually put Hamas on a pedestal, saying Gen Z fetishize a globally defined terror organization is really where we are right now. In London, England, a parade of cars drove through predominantly Jewish neighborhoods wrapped in Palestinian flags, and parents, if you want to cover your children's ears, now would be the time, screaming, "Fuck the Jews, rape their daughters." That happened in London, England. And in LA, a gang of men wrapped in Palestinian flags drove up to a sushi restaurant in downtown LA, asked where are the Jews, found them, and started to attack them at a table. Jewish men were lynched in New York City. A pipe bomb was thrown at Jews in the Diamond District. This is where we are in 2021. Here in Canada, right here in Toronto. Jews were spit on, beaten within inches of their lives. 2 young women were attacked in a car while they were sitting at a stoplight by Palestinians who wrapped themselves in flags, tried to pull them out of their car at Richmond and Yonge for the simple, I guess, transgression in their mind of having an Israeli flag in their back window. In Montreal, Jews, among them Isabella Hassan, who we're going to hear from today, had rocks thrown at them, bottles thrown at them, spit on and cursed. In Calgary, a procession screaming Kaiba Kaiba Yayaud, the same religious war chant that we heard in England, in London, terrorizing Albertans. This is Canada. Edmonton, Vancouver, and Winnipeg all saw similar incidents, similar occurrences. Have we heard enough about it? Because I know I certainly have. I had to actually research to look for these things. But I know that we can do better. To the parents of our future leaders and Jewish community members, I reiterate what my friend Eve Bartlow of Los Angeles, leading music industry journalist, has coined: a social media pogrom against the Jews, and dare any Jew who dares to stand up to our right for self-determination. Guys, speak to your kids. The result, I don't know those of you who are on social media, it's probably good that you're not if you're not, but if you are, the result was Canada's own Seth Rogen created an attack campaign against this young woman who dared to speak up, berating her, belittling her name, and there was this campaign of hate against her. Why? Because she had the audacity to stand up against anti-Semitism. But dear Seth, let me tell you something. If you see this, or if somebody here knows you, and you happen to see this on video, the last attack that happened in New York City was against a trans male who was at a rally against Israel. He was attacked by a group that attacked him not because he was trans, but because he was Jewish. And when he screamed on the video, "I'm not Zionist," they attacked him anyway. Seth, it does not matter. When they come for the Jews, they're coming for all of us. So we all must stand together and fight back. Here in our own backyard, 2 Laurier students inspired by the call of Hamas leader to decapitate Jews around the world, and I quote, buying a 5-shekel knife and slit them from the artery forward, created a TikTok video, Laurier University, taking the flag of Israel, a knife, and stabbing it. This is happening in our own backyards. What is happening in social media is nothing short of social media terrorism. So dear friends, then what is our response? This right here is our response. We're not covering our faces at rallies, screaming to kill other people. No, we're here dancing and rejoicing and supporting one another because this is what Jews do. While I wish I could say that these incidents were isolated and will never happen again, we know better than that. Jews are much smarter than that. Expulsion, Egyptian slavery, Inquisition, Farhut, pogroms, the Shoah, Jews as dhimmis, ethnic cleansing of Jews in MENA countries, Beta Israel Jews being attacked, the Islamic Revolution in Iran, all tried to rid their countries and the world of Jews. Exactly 0 succeeded. Anti-Semitism is the oldest and longest lasting racism in the world. The oldest and longest lasting racism in history. Now I know, everything I said here today maybe makes you feel hopeless. This is daunting. No, it's not, because think about it, guys. For all intents and purposes, those of us who are Jewish here in the crowd, we shouldn't be here. We should have been killed off years ago, centuries ago, and yet, somehow, Jewish resistance, Jewish resilience, Jewish pride has always kept us strong. And here we are again. But guys, this time, and I'm gonna end it here, this time is different. Jews no longer need to feel as though that the countries that we live in, or host countries as they used to call them, need to protect us. No, not anymore. Not since 1948. Since 1948, Jews are free and liberated, and we defend ourselves. And I say this to you, dear Canadian Jews, as an Israeli Defense Force veteran. Our ability to rise from the ashes and to rebuild what was forcibly taken from us is our greatest success, solace, and security, as well as our guarantee for a strong future. So guys, I want to end it with this. Repeat after me. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. One more time. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you so much, guys. I love you. Thank you so much.